the same as the U.S. per capita debt, and we're making fun of those people. Who's going to bail out Who's going to bail out the Greeks? Who's going to bail out the United States?
And this is to be expected. Greece would fall before we because they don't have the privilege of printing the reserve currency. The world still will take our dollars for a while yet. But I'd qualify the statement on whether or not Greece is salvageable. Greece will, survive, but they cannot survive on what we're doing. You cannot salvage the system. The debt. They need to just declare bankruptcy. They can't. They're worried about paying up all this debt. Once debt gets to a certain limit, it is never paid off, and then sometimes it lingers. Sometimes it's paid off through inflation. Sometimes there's default. But the sooner they clear the slate and let the people go back to work again, but the big message there is the fact that the people who are seeing they're going to lose their benefits and their free medical care and all, they're rioting in the streets, close to rioting in the streets.
Yeah, they're taking away our entitlements. We earned them. How did you earn them? We voted for them.
That is the problem, and we're not immune from that either. I hope it'll never get that bad here, but it's conceivable, and we sense it already. People say, "Oh, you're going to cut my benefits." People get pretty upset, and then the politicians have to cave in, and they can't go and do the things that they have to do because the people on the receiving end get so upset. So there's a major contest going on right now.
Well, so are we there? There's only three choices: reduce spending, increase taxes, or inflate. The political class has chosen to inflate over that last 10 years rather than doing the right thing. Are we going to experience? Are you predicting, in essence, if bankruptcy is the cure for Greece, is it also the cure for the United States?
Absolutely. And
what does that look like?
Well, it depends on which way you go. If we don't raise the debt limit, they worry about a default. But the default is occurring constantly because if your dollar loses value, that means they're cheating you and they are defaulting. So if they continue to inflate, then you have the destruction of the currency. You have true chaos. I imagine what will happen is they're going to raise the debt limit a little bit at a time, and they'll keep printing the money. But one way that wouldn't be, I know this is pretty strange for people to even think about this, but we owe like $1.6 trillion because the Federal Reserve bought that debt. Mm-hmm. So we have to work hard to pay the interest to the Federal Reserve. Mm-hmm. They're nobody. Why do we have to pay them off? Why don't we just take that away from them and reduce the debt by $1.5 trillion or whatever? But what they lose is their skill to manage the money supply and interest rates if they can't buy and sell these treasury bills. But we don't owe that to anybody. The Federal Reserve, how did they pay for it? They printed the money out of thin air. So why don't we just eliminate it and say we don't owe it to you anymore?
Well, wouldn't that affect our bond rating? And I just watched, I saw a news story this morning says if they downrate us just one point, take away our bond rating, we'll drop $100 billion. That's what it'll cost.
It's going to cost it'll come one way or the other. As a matter of fact, I'm not predicting that there's any chance that they're going to default on paying the Federal Reserve. But if you did, that might reassure the bondholders. They'll say, hey, they've just reduced the deficit by over $1 trillion. Now they can handle it. They can go back to meeting their other obligation. It might give some reassurance to the market. But no, the bond ratings, even though today people are still buying bonds and treasury bills because they have no other place to go and they don't trust the euro any more than they any other currency. So I think they will continue to do exactly what they're doing, but eventually the bonds